JP, I'm so excited to have you today. I can't even tell you when I was telling my friends that I was going to get to interview you, everybody was like, oh my God, you look like a little kid. But for the sake of people joining our circle, I'd like to introduce you officially as Dr. JP Farrell, an internationally recognized and award winning pioneer in healthcare. You direct the Advanced Training Fellowship in Rapid Healing, and you serve as the director of research at the Institute of Spirituality and Healthcare. You are the founder and president of the College of Sacred Surgeons in Princeton. And probably what you're most famous for, though, is being the first person in the world to be able to demonstrate the capacity to deliver immediate healing in a clinical setting. I mean, they call you the sacred surgeon. I think you're the only person that can be called that.
As my staff, they call me the OG. So, so the original gangster, as far as being able to deliver rapid healing and rapid anti-aging benefits in a clinical setting, in the OR, in our OR built by through grants from pharmaceutical companies. So we're witnessing a real advancement in the integration of healthcare. So we're seeing a rapid evolution in healthcare, and that's what people want. The market wants, the consumer wants an integrative approach to their healthcare.
Well, so I read your book. That's how I originally fell in love with you. The story was so awe-inspiring. I told everybody I knew. I think your Amazon sales spiked after I read it, because I couldn't believe it. The story is downright unbelievable.
Thank you.
I think just to help people kind of have an understanding of what exactly happened.
If I may be so rude to interrupt the beautiful Delphine, when you say it's unbelievable, when Simon Schuster dropped the book, books are recorded by the American Library in their chronicles, and they're put into all the libraries. And when the book showed up, manifesting Michelangelo, the story of a modern day miracle that might change everything.
I should probably just show it while we're saying that.
So it was sent out to the library as listed as a nonfiction book, and the person who was recording it said, the story of someone connecting to source and with intention who can heal bones and disfigurement and achieve rapid anti-aging benefits, this must be fiction. So they recorded it as fiction. So it literally took 6 months before they had to go in and correct it and say, oh, wow, it's a true story. Yeah. So, but interesting enough, it was a kind of a cognitive dissonance and people saying, oh, wow, look at that. Because typically books like this are there's this saying, when life imitates art. So yes, it's a nonfiction book, correct?
I just want to tout a little bit more of your highlights, because there are many.
Very kind.
You're the recipient of multiple grants, major corporations like Johnson & Johnson, Tylenol, although I'm probably not saying the names right. I know the Walton Foundation, to name a few. How is it that somebody in such a brand new, very unbelievable new form of medicine,
an emerging field,
how do you get to attract corporations like that to support this type of work?
It's interesting when I started my practice at 903 Park Avenue in New York City. There was this concatenation of like events where I was just thrust into rooms with people who were very, very powerful. And I was speaking at a group at the United Nations, and a woman tapped me on the shoulder and said, hi, I'm interested in your work with disfigured children. And I said, okay, ma'am, I'll be done in a few minutes. I'd be happy. She goes, no, I really want to get together. I really want to discuss this. And I said, okay, thank you. And it was Mrs. Johnson from Johnson & Johnson. It was Libet Johnson. And so there's somebody orchestrating this. There's, somebody once said, are you orchestrating? Are you doing this? And I always say, I'm the puppet in it. There was a great puppeteer who is orchestrating all of these things. And as Malcolm Muggeridge said, that every happening, large and small, is is a coincidence where God reveals Himself to us. So yeah, there's been all these wonderful events that have just transpired.
So you truly believe that this is a God-given gift?
I think that I think each person has gifts, and I think that the gifts that each person has cannot be measured on like an SAT test or a typical exam. But I think, the saying, every pot has a lid, and every single person is unique. And I love the saying, don't judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree. So we all are completely unique, just like our fingerprints are unique. So every person has can make a unique contribution to the world. Um, uh, how to define God given. So um, we are all imbued with gifts. We all have tremendous gifts. However, the talent to be able to, as people have described, the ability to immediately heal a shattered bone, or immediately, as one of the cardiologists that were interviewed on the video said, what was amazing to watch my knee transform, to watch the skin ripple. So so this, when people speak of a God-given gift, this is a human potential. And I other people in the past have been able to do this every 100 years, every 200 years. And going back 2,000 years, there was a man wandering through the Middle East who was healing shattered bone, and healing the lame and disfigured, and changing the lepers' faces. So we too can do these things. And I look forward to the day when my students in Princeton will be able to achieve results far greater than me, and that'll make me very happy.
So let's be very clear about what it is that your abilities can do, because there are very specific things that you can do, right? So it's tissue, it's bone. What talents
Well,
or gifts do you have?
here's an interesting thing. I authored a book called Manifesting Michelangelo, and in the book, I never once said that I healed anyone, or healed a lame, or cured anything, or did a rhinoplasty, or did it. However, there are many pictures pre and post, and there are many testimonies from board certified surgeons around the world who've sat in the OR, scrubbed in with me, and observed me doing these procedures. So um, I I I'm hesitant to make this claim. I let all the other physicians and all the pharmaceutical companies who are writing grants, I let that stand for the record. But you can go on the website for the Institute for Spirituality and Healthcare.org, and you can read all the different in medicine. They call it, what are the applications? So when you come out with a new treatment, you figure out what the applications are in all the areas that it can benefit in your health.
I was last night. I was up reading the reviews of the book, because I'm told you I'm a huge fan of the
Thank you.
book, and the reviews are just plentiful. I mean, from every different type of publication and book list. But I pulled out one that I thought was very interesting, because these healings include shrinking of an operable brain tumor, correcting a facial deformity, and restoring a limb scheduled for amputation. That's crazy stuff.
Dumbfounding.
That's crazy
So
stuff.
so so if we as humans have these profound capacities, in the hot when you if you go if you go to college, and colleges are called schools of higher learning, but they're not really teaching students or people higher learning. So the true higher learning is what our true capacity is. So these capacities that we as humans have, if it is true that it's very interesting. When I sold my book to Simon Schuster, the suits up on the 30th floor said, we need to have the CBS team do an investigation, because we have to make sure if this is real and if this is true.
I can
So
imagine.
they sent the investigators out to talk to all the doctors that were interviewed in the book, who had gone on record to have witnessed rapid healing, rapid fusing a bone, rapid anti-inflammation, seeing non-invasive rhinoplasties happen in our clinical facility. And they all came back and said, "Yes, I'm so and so. Yes, I'm board certified surgeon. Yes, I was in. I was in. I was the second. I assisted in observing that procedure." So so here's the thing. So if this is true, if we truly have the capacity through yoking our mind, our heart, our empathy with source, and directing our consciousness at a target, and it can migrate out and touch that target and achieve rapid benevolent treatment effects, that's dumbfounding, and it's really dumbfounding in its ramifications, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. It's
Because
huge.
it would have to change science, it would have to change medicine, it would have to change religion, it would have to change law. It would have ramifications in all those fields.
Right. Yeah. So give us a little bit more detail. How do you do this? What is the process that you go about, and how long does it take?
Very, very interesting. Now, you're sitting 4 feet from me, and you have a cell phone, and I have a cell phone. Now, if you pick up your cell phone and your cell phone wants to communicate with my cell phone, it doesn't speak directly. It doesn't communicate directly to my cell phone, does it? It triangulates. So your cell phone will bounce up. It will touch a tower. That tower will go to a satellite. That satellite will go to a local tower. That tower will communicate to me. So it's kind of a triangulation, correct?
Yeah.
So, if I want to simplify it, um, what I do is I look at the target, I hold an intention, and then I connect to source, prana, chi, spirit. I connect to, or as authors have called it, the field. So it's the unseen ineffable um, that permeates every place. So I can connect into that. So I connect into that, and then I go into. So I connect. So I connect, hold an intention, focus my attention, and as soon as I link that up, immediately the tissues begins to ripple. So if you go on the College of Sacred Surgeons and you look up Meet the President, Dr. J.P. Farrell, and you read underneath it, this is like what do doctors say? So all the physicians are all saying the same exact thing. So you have, let's say, Dr. Von Schmidt, who's a neurosurgeon. So he came into the OR and he said, what was amazing was observing and seeing the skin begin to ripple immediately as he focused on the tissue, and then watching the benevolent treatment effect occur and watch all the swelling and scar tissue melt before my eyes. So, so again, um, what we're doing, in Princeton is we're studying this great phenomenon, and there are three areas that we can study. We can certainly study the practitioner, the doctor, the healer, and what they're doing and what's happening in their brain, and then we can study the target, what's happening across the room, what's happening in the knee, what's happening in the nose, what's happening in the sagging face, what's happening in the broken bone, what's happening to the tumor. So we can look at the target, we can look at the practitioner, and then the $1 million question or the $1 billion question is, what is the mechanism that is allowing the person sitting 3 feet away to achieve these rapid healing, rapid anti-aging benefits? What is it? And uh, currently, science at its current level of knowledge doesn't fully understand. Just like we don't, just like we use 70% of drugs that are used in hospitals have never had a clinical test. Most of them, they don't know how they work, but they do know that they do work, so they use them in care, like aspirin.
Well,
Uh,
I've had two babies and I still don't know how it works. So
Good.
I'm here to tell you I understand that part of it.
Well, that's a great analogy. I
Yeah.
mean, look at that. I mean, like in my book, I wrote my sister had a baby, and they sent her home with the baby, and they never gave her an instruction manual. I mean, I bought a cell phone charger the other day, and it literally had a book that was like 80 pages. So yes, so I stumbled on the secret to be able to unlock this uh, human capacity to achieve immediate healing, immediate anti-aging benefits, and I was never given a manual how to do it. So through through the scientific and rigorous method, we kept doing experiments, and as the chairman of Novo Nordisk explained to me, we call these chance discoveries. So through doing all of these trial and error, we found out how to do it, how to perfect it, and then a wide array of applications where we can achieve rapid healing and rapid anti-aging benefits.
Okay, so I'm obsessed with this whole concept because I think I've become really into my meditation,
Right.
and I've been really finding ways that I can heal myself in my meditative state. I go in if I have an upset stomach or things that I have, and I've not been using, you know, aspirin and Pepto Bismol as much anymore. I've
Right.
been really focusing on being able to heal myself, and it works, and it's amazing. And so I know what I'm doing is on the small level. You're doing it on the big level, but you've created a college to teach people. I mean, is do you really believe that people can learn to do this? What you do?
And then over the next decade, we replicated, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases. And then the next is published in a couple journals, published a nonfiction book, did a research study, had it reviewed by in-house physicians and external, physicians, and scored a very high efficacy rate, 94% efficacy rate. And so the next is the duplication process. So I have been able to train other people to be able to duplicate my results. And it's very interesting. A lot of education these days is kind of intellectual and it's by rote. And I think we're seeing a huge shift in how people learn. And I think academia is realizing that a lot of the old methods of educating people how to do new stuff is kind of flawed. It doesn't really work too well. So at the College of Sacred Surgeons in Princeton, with this wonderful team of educators that we've assembled, we've created a way to get other people to realize their ability to achieve rapid healing and rapid anti-aging benefits. And the way we do that is four steps. I'll break it down. Step one, intellectually. So we explain that the science is there. A Nobel Prize was offered in this field, theoretically, that the observer effects he observed. And so we look at it, and quantum science now says this is all possible. Bruce Lipton, Deepak, they're all talking about it is possible. The mind can migrate at a distance. Our thoughts, our things can migrate at a distance and affect tissue and change it. Okay. So first, intellectually. So this is possible. Quantum science says it's possible. The experts say theoretically it's possible. So intellectually. The second step to be able to unleash your capacity to be able to manifest on the level of the miraculous, step number two is doing experiential. So intellectually, and then second is experientially. So you do experiential training. The experiential training is meditation, becoming a master of being able to move life force, energy, prana, chi, spirit through your body, and then learning how to migrate it out of your body at will through intention. So that's experiential, okay? And we work with a lot of exercises and train people how to do that. So we'll see if you're tracking me intellectually, experientially. Now, the third phase is observationally. So after reading my book, um, and before coming in and before going into the clinical space and observing rapid tissue change or non-invasive nose job, you kind of believed it was possible, didn't you? You believed I was doing this. I mean, you read the
Absolutely.
book, you
Yeah.
believed it. You had never seen me do it, and you
No.
believed it, correct? Okay. Now, once somebody comes into the room and they observe tissue change immediately, right before their eyes, they go from I'll see. I'm gonna throw this out. You see if you get this. They go from a state of believing to a state of,
Knowing.
oh wow, you nailed it. Okay, great, and that's it. So the difference between believing something is possible and knowing something is possible is a huge step in the learning.
Yeah,
So now
absolutely.
intellectually, you understand the science behind it, and then experientially you've practiced, you've done the practices. I don't care if you're a chef, I don't care if you're a ballet dancer, I don't care if you're an attorney, I don't care if you're I don't care if you're landscape and you're beautiful at working with things. They say it takes 10,000 hours to become a master. So you work, you work on this. So intellectually, experientially, observationally, and the last stage is just clinically. So I bring my students through intellectually, experientially, observationally, and then we bring them into the clinical, into the training clinic. And just like in any healthcare profession, I don't care if it's nursing or chiropractic or acupuncture or surgery or pediatrics, everything, you will trail behind and shadow the big dog physician. So let's say that the chief is like Doctor, Sarah Fitzgerald, and the doctors uh, follow Sarah through the OR and then on rounds and meeting all the patients, and that's how you learn. It's kind of like osmosis; you pick it up as you go along. So that's how we will train other people to be able to be truly integrative healthcare professionals.
It's so exciting, so fascinating. Really uncover what people think, who they read, what they do, what makes them tick so that we have a better understanding of how success is achieved, right? So you're one of the most fascinating people, if not the most fascinating person I've ever met. Don't tell my other guest, JP.
You're very kind, and I think you're fascinating too.
Um, so I want to know a little bit more about it. So we're going to
Sure.
start with our big questions. Do you have any consistent daily routines?
Every morning that I get up, I do have some rituals that I do, and they require me to be in a private place, and to, like, I don't want any cell phones ringing. I don't want people talking to me. I don't want anything. So what's interesting, in my last relationship, what I would do is, guess my girlfriend likes to, she's a talker. She's a talker, and so um, what I would do is I would get up a half an hour before her, and I would scoot out of the house and walk down to the beach, and I would sit down on the beach and I'd do my routine. So I go into a meditative state, and what I do is I just open up. I do. I move the life force and the prana and the spirit through my body, and I bring it up through my spine, up through my back, through my shoulders, up the back of my neck, up the back of my head, up to the crown of my head, up to the pineal gland, and then I bring it down through my throat, through my heart, through my through my stomach, and loop it around. And then once this whole circuit, and there's a circuit there, and science, in the East, they've known this for thousands of years. And the scientists in Harvard announced a couple of years ago that they discovered these uh, these these centers, these energy centers. Well, chakras have been have known, in the Tibet and in the East, they've had these charts
We're
for
not the
thousands of years.
quickest when it comes to the medicine stuff.
Yeah, that's true. So what I do is I open up all these circuits, and then after I open up then what I do is I just connect. I allow the borders of my body, my skin, to connect to the ineffable, inexhaustible source that permeates the world around us. I connect to it. I become one with that. And then after that, so I've opened myself up, I've connected, and then I'm ready to set off for the day.
Now, is
So I
that something you learned somewhere? Did you come up with that on your own, or how did you know to do that?
It's a lot of great teachers will say that you can't fully train people to do things. They have to have a little bit of an aptitude. So a lot of great teachers will say, "I'll give you three legs of the table, and it's up to you to figure out the fourth leg." But what I did was I went around and I studied. I went around and I looked at a lot of, like, these energy cultivating different methods. I had the privilege of going to study with a professor, Patricia Carrington, in Princeton, and learning some advanced meditation techniques. And then I studied with a master in qigong, um, in New York, who had come from China, and he was not only a master in qigong, true master. He held that, the lineage of that, and he was also a physics professor at NYU. So he was a great guy. So I picked up from that, and then I read a lot of the Taoist masters, and I studied the Taoist, and then I went and I studied the ancient, the ancient Judeo-Christian books that have been recently found in the past 40 years. And I started studying them, and I found in those books, there were all these great little seeds of wisdom. So I went in there and I read them, and I found out that they were as valid today as they were years ago. And it's great because I had floundered for many, many years, not finding my niche in life. And one day I was sitting in my office on Madison Avenue, and I was just so depressed, and I went to see a psychiatrist, and I said, "I'm depressed. I'm clinically depressed." And he said, "Well, tell me." I said, "Well, I go to my office every day, and I'm depressed, and I whatever." And he says, "You're not depressed. You just hate your work." He says, "Don't do that anymore, and find your purpose, find your raison d'être, find out what you want, what you're passionate about." So I turned off the computer in my office. I walked out, and I said I quit. After years, and went home, and I decided, well, I'm going to sit here on a pillow until I figure out what my passion is. Um, and then
Well,
I
and that brings me to my next question, because it is, tell me about a time in your life where you reached a turning point.
great, good. So I don't have to repeat myself. I sat down at my desk, and I was so depressed, and I hated my work so much. I went home, and I just sat. I just it was an aha moment. I said, I just cannot live a fake life anymore. I can't be working in something because maybe my parents wanted me to like work in business. I just couldn't do it anymore. So I had always, since I was a child, I had always wanted to work in healthcare or medicine. I always wanted to be healing people and fixing broken things, healing things. Um, when I was a child, I had a little fake doctor's bag, and I went and I had some like strips of linen in it, and I had band aids, and I had all these things in it, and I would go and I would bandage the cat up, and I would bandage the dog up, and I would do all of these things, make believe doctor on these things. And I always wanted to do that. So what was interesting, I knew I wanted to be in healthcare, but I didn't know what the modality was. So I went and I picked up a book for going to medical school, and then I picked up a book going to chiropractic school, and I picked up a book on being a physician's assistant. I picked up another book on massage, and I spread them all out in front of me, and I looked at them, and none of them resonated with me. One of them really resonated with me. So what I did was, I'm very, very privileged that I unlocked my own modality. I discovered my own modality. So yeah, I discovered by chance my own modality, which is kind of a hybrid between medicine and spirituality. And if you see on my website, drjpfarrell.com, on the cover is Bridges Journal. And another beautiful coincidence is the every month the Bridges Journal does a different topic. And the month that they featured me on the cover, the topic was bridging science and spirit. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a bridge between medicine, science, and spirituality, and seeing how they're all connected.
In your book, you talk very specifically about steps that people can take, and I really like this part of it, because it really made it seem possible for us to each be able to find what is our purpose and what do we want to do. So, so my question is, tell me about a working mode or method that you use to achieve your goals. And immediately when I wrote that question, I thought about your look, decide, connect, act, manifest
Right,
steps. How
right.
did you come up with that?
That's interesting. Um, I I was sitting on the corner of 66th Street and Second Avenue, Manhattan, at Mediterra restaurant with a friend of mine, uh, Tirana, and she had stress in her life, and she had these conditions, and she said, "JP, how can I find my purpose? How can I do this?" And I said, "Well, I think the first thing you really need to do is kind of look, look around the world, look within yourself, and find that trigger. Find that thing you're passionate about, something that trigger. And then once you know like what you're really, really passionate about, then you know what you should be doing. Okay, because you don't want to, certainly don't want to work in a field you're not passionate about, right? So I said, look around you, and look within you. Okay. The next is work on connecting to source. Work on learning how to just connect to source, and there are a lot of different ways that you can learn to do that through whatever sacred practice you get into, but learn how to connect to the ineffable. Learn how to connect, and I'm not going to go into that. You can pick up any book on that, how to connect to source and how to a lot of great meditation techniques teach you how to like do internal meditation in your body, which is called mind body. So I'll break it down. So like mind body is just how your mind affects your body, but mind body spirit is how your mind and your body can connect to source. So now rather than having a closed kind of a closed circuit, you've got this open circuit. You're connected, right? So let's look at it. So I explained to Tirana. I said, look, you want to look, you want to connect, and then the next thing is you have to act. So you have to get off your pillow.
Yeah.
So you have to actually get out there and act. And if you're connected, if you know what you want to do, and you connect to source, and you hold your vision of what you want, and your thoughts migrate out of your head and they go out and they seed the collective consciousness, you will be amazed how the universe will react to your passion, your thoughts that are being sent out there, and you will start to see coincidences and opportunities line up in front of you, which is amazing. So let's break it down. Look, connect, act, and then manifest. So that's how I do it. Now, there was a book that came out. My publisher, Simon Schuster, came out with a book a few years ago called The Secret, and Secret was a huge seller. Uh, However, didn't read The Secret. Read what it said, which was basically look, believe, receive. Well,
You didn't read The Secret.
I did not read The Secret. Didn't read it, but
I didn't read it either, but I
you
watched the video quite a few times.
yeah, but it's look, believe, receive. But I haven't seen anyone on Charlie Rose or anyone on Oprah saying that they did it and they manifested something or they made a big change in their life or whatever. So the problem with look, believe, receive is that it's missing the secret sauce. And here's the secret sauce. And now the look, believe, receive has been around for thousands and thousands of years. You can read any of the ancient texts, and it will say that if you if you believe something is possible and you experience as if it's already happened, you can tell a mountain to jump into the sea and it will happen. So the secret was missing the secret sauce, and the secret sauce is experiencing internally that that it's happened before it's happened. So you have to experience it as already it's happened. So let's add the secret sauce to the secret. So we're not going to look, believe, receive. We're going to look, believe, experience, and then you'll receive. So you have to experience it in your being as if it's already happened.
Absolutely.
So if you experience it already has happened, and in my book Manifesting Michelangelo, I explain how I had the breakthrough to be able to achieve these rapid tissue changes. And I was, interestingly enough, I was on the weekends. I like to sculpt and I like to repair broken statues. And I was in my basement restoring a broken statue of a gargoyle from a church, and I had two of them, and one was missing a nose. So so the one that was missing a nose, I put a pin in it, I put a screw in it, put some putty in it, shaped a nose, polished it, put some wax on it. When it was all done, I had the one gargoyle next to the other gargoyle, and I couldn't discern which one that I had restored. So I knew the client was going to be really, really happy. So I just took a moment, and my girlfriend at the time had said to me, after you create something beautiful, whether it's a piece of architecture or a great meal or you, you raise a beautiful child, take a moment and give credit to where credit is due and say, thank you, thank you for the support. Thank you, universe. Thank you, God. Thank you, whatever, to that I could bring this gift to humanity. So I just took a moment and I looked at them and I remembered what Marion had said to me, and I said this, you know, and I don't know, are we still allowed to say God, whatever?
Absolutely.
So I said, I didn't say God. I said, but like, wouldn't it be great if I could use my God-given ability to shape marble and wood to be able to shape human tissue, to be able to restore the disfigured or the lame? And at that moment, I had a profound experience that you can read about, that to this day is just makes my hair stand on end
Yeah,
in my basement.
that was the highlight of the book for sure, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
and what that means is, like, at that moment when I said, "Wouldn't it be great if I could heal people and heal the disfigured?" And at that moment, what I did was I experienced the emotion of how much joy I would experience if I could facilitate healing a paralyzed person or a burned person or a broken person or a disfigured person, and how much emotional joy I would experience. And my joy, apparently, as somebody described, migrated out of my heart and soul and mind and left my studio and went up and knocked on heaven's door. And lo and behold, the next day I was able to, as people have described, as physicians once have said, JP is able to wield spirit with the accuracy of a high grade medical laser to alter human tissue.
That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah. It's
You and I were just talking about this, about gratitude and the power of gratitude and how it's often be overlooked. And, your girlfriend saying, let's stop and let's be thoughtful about what you were able to do. And I feel like, coming out of this last year that we all went through with all the craziness that came out of it, I know that gratitude is really what I fell back on to kind of find my way when I was feeling frustrated or angry or scared. I mean, some scary times we went through. I mean, in the past year, what do you think were the biggest silver linings? What did you come out of that last year thinking? Okay, you know what? This was a really powerful takeaway. What we all went through.
Well, I think I mean, there of course there's, our personal aha moments and discoveries and realizations, and then there's the more collective, global things that we notice. But personally, I realized that I want to be more true and more authentic to myself, and more. I don't want to be caught up in. I certainly don't want to be an administrator of a hospital. I certainly don't want to be in the business aspect. I mean, I think finding what each one of our highest and best uses in the world. So if we're really good at helping in this field, let's work on that. Let's not get caught up in doing other things. So ask yourself, what's my highest and best use?
Yeah.
So um, I've actually just removed some of the distractions in my life to allow me to serve in my highest and best use. But on a global level, I think that people, because of all of the differing, all the different talking heads coming and telling us all different conflicting things, I
Absolutely.
think it's important to ask and use your own discernment and come up with your own narrative.
Yep.
Come up with your own narrative. Come up with your own truth. Find your own truth, and listen to experts on both sides, or there are more than two sides, but on all sides, and then come up with your own truth.
I love that.
Um,
Absolutely.
so find your own narrative.
Yeah. Well, and if that's something that came out of that, that would be a huge, huge silver lining, in my opinion, in terms of moving forward as a whole. Um, when you want to hear the truth, who do you go to
That's a good thing. Wow. When I want to
besides
find the
me?
truth. Besides you, well, of course, the first thing I do is I call Delphine and I say, Delphine, what do I do here? And then what's interesting, I've learned to listen. That always have great advice. Um,
Thank you.
so thank you. Okay, okay. So ask the question one more time, please.
When you want to hear the truth, who do you go to?
Great. Okay. So when I want to hear the truth and I want to know the truth, and I'm at a at a crux or a pivotal moment, the place I go to is a place of silence. So I go to a place of silence. I go to a place of quiet. And there was a gentleman wandering through the Middle East 2,000 years ago, and they asked him, and his students asked him. He said, like, how do we, how do we commune, with Source? How do we do this? And he said, find a place of quiet. Go. He literally said, don't go sit in a temple. Don't go sit in a church. Don't go talk to whatever. He said, go into your closet, go to a private place. Even if you have a great, beautiful home, some people have their own meditation places in their house, but if you don't, just go and sit in your closet, whatever, but find a place of quiet, a place of solitude. And in the silence, we can ask, and then the universe will respond. So you ask that question, you know, you ask and the answer will come to you. I had a gentleman call me and he said, JP, he said, I'm out in LA and my daughter is they're going to take her off life support this weekend. And I heard about your book through a friend named Lee Lacey, a producer out there. And he said, I cannot in good consciousness take my daughter off life support, who's been in a coma for 3 months. I can't take her off life support, having heard that you're able to achieve this rapid anti-inflammatory and these benefits from a dear friend of mine. So he says, but I don't believe it's possible. And quite frankly, I think you're probably a charlatan, and I think you're probably a crock of shit.
I
And
don't know if I would have said
I
that to you.
probably think this. Now, here's the thing. So here's a guy calling me up, asking me for help, telling me I'm
Mhm.
probably full of shit. What's the catch? What's
Right.
whatever? Now, my ego reacted with, like, I wanted to say, well, listen,
Yeah.
Buster, why don't you go take a hike, or, like this or
Right.
that? But then I said, you know what? If I was in his space, I'd probably have the same reaction if I had heard about this. It'd be because the story is very incredulous. So, so what I did was I was going to just tell him what he could do with it, but then I took a breath and I said, look, let me just push my ego out of the way, and I just asked. I just closed my eyes and I asked. I said, what do I do here? And I got back. Tell the guy, have compassion for this guy who's in a stressful thing. His daughter's in a coma for 3 months, and they're gonna pull a
Yeah.
plug on her this weekend. Have a little compassion for him. And then I asked, and then people say there's the Akashic records, there is God, there's this. So I asked the universe. I said, what
Yeah.
do I do? And they said, absolutely 100% you can heal his daughter. So what did I say to Buster? This is what I said to him. He said, do you think you can help my daughter? I said, absolutely 100% I can help your daughter, and she'll come out of the coma. So he said, do you think that you can take my daughter out of the coma? I said, no, I don't think I can take your daughter out of the coma. I absolutely know 100% your daughter's going to come out of the coma. And he said, oh, really? I said, what's going to cost me? He goes, not a dime. Why don't I just go out to the hospital and take her out of the coma? And he said, what's the catch? I said, there is no catch. There's absolutely zero catch. So I said, where is she? So he said, she's at the Good Samaritan Hospital in Phoenix. He said, can you go tomorrow? And it was a Tuesday. And I said, no, I'm booked all week. He said, I can go this weekend. And I said to him, Buster, I said, when would you like your daughter to come out of the coma? Saturday or Sunday? And he goes, oh, well, how about Sunday? I said, okay, Sunday it is. So packed a bag. And so funny because Buster got on the phone with Lee Lacey and he asked him the question. And he said, I just spoke to JP Farrell, and JP, he's either crazy or he's legitimate. He's authentic. And Lee says, no, he's the real deal. I've seen him do it. So I got on the plane. I flew out to Phoenix. I got in the rental car, went over to the Good Samaritan Hospital, had a suit on, and a leather bag, and I walked up to these doors that said, we had all the yellow tape, "Do not enter, authorized only," and I pushed through them. you know, um, Pushed through them, walked into the ICU, walked into the room where the woman was languishing in a coma for months, and she was on a ventilator. And I stood there and I looked at her and I said, "Oh shit, I think I might have bit off too much more than I can chew." But I looked at her and I looked up my eyes at the ceiling and I said, "Okay, I said, if you pull this woman out of a coma right now, I'm going to go forth and I'm going to take this out into the world. I'm going to write a book and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to tell the world that this is possible and document it. And the girl's husband was standing right next to my shoulder, and and I did my process. I went into created empathy with the girl sitting there in the coma. I connected to source. I held an intention, and then how quickly do you think the woman started to react?
Immediately.
And immediately her legs started to shift. She started to move her head. Her eyes popped open. She began to try to breathe with a tube in her. So the red blinker started going off in the ventilator, and the siren went off, and the beeper went off, and she was up, and she was trying to breathe with this tube, and the nurses ran in, and said, "What did you do? Oh my God!" And they switched the ventilator off, and they opened up a valve in her throat, um, and she started to breathe by herself.
Incredible.
So I walked out of the room, and I dialed her dad, and her dad said, "So, did you see my daughter?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Do you think you're gonna be able to help her?" I said, "She's out of the coma." So
Wow.
the rest of the story is so it's very,
That's an
very interesting.
incredible story.
Thank you.
Incredible story, JP.
Well,
I mean,
it's
and you've got a lot of those. I mean, I'm constantly in awe of the stories that you tell. Why do you think we're here? What is the purpose of our life?
why are we here? I'm not a philosopher or anything like that, but I think that we, as to quote Deepak, we are all Buddhas in Christ in embryo. And our job is to realize our potential and find out what that is. To go in as I said, look within inside, find out what your passion is. Look around you. I don't care if it's drunk drivers and your mothers that create Mothers Against Drunk Driving, or whatever your passion is. Find out what it is, and then go ahead. So we are all the sacred beings in an embryo, and our job is to realize our sacred potential here on the planet.
I love that. I'll take it.
It's not mine.
What do you think is the most pressing issue facing our world today?
I think that right now there's a big split between us as organic beings and having our own sacred sovereignty as like these sacred beings that have these profound capacities, and a lot of financial interests that want to say we're just consumers and we need them, and you need these products, and you need this machine, or you need this device, or you need this supplement or whatever. So there's this big thing like, do we do? I saw this great ad. I think it was for Levi's, and it says, "You have everything you need." You were born with everything you
Yeah.
need, and we do. We have
Right.
potential. We have amazing capacities, and so you either have to believe I was born with profound capacities, or I need somebody's product, or somebody's product and products, whatever, to realize my potential. But what I'm saying is that, so I think that's it. I think embrace your own power, embrace your own potential, and discover it, and realize it, and then give that to the world.
Tell me something you used to believe that you don't believe anymore.
Well, I spent 4 years in grade school, and 6 years, 8 years in college, and the whole time I was never told that the whole time in all the textbooks, I was told that if you believe that your thoughts can affect matter, that is a psychosis, or that's a medical. In the DCM-4, codex, it says anyone who thinks that they can connect to source and that their thoughts can affect the environment, um, um, and they're absolutely wrong, because they now know in quantum science, we now know that the observer affects the observed. And this is still not taught in high school, or in college, or in medical school, or to
Do you
psychologists.
think we're getting there?
Oh well, it's here. It's the white elephant in the room. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that this is possible. Everyone's experienced, having somebody look at them and turn around. Somebody's looking at. Everyone knows that our thoughts are things, and they can migrate at a distance. Um, uh, and it's having an effect in the world.
Yeah.
So I realized that they're going to have to throw out a lot of the psychology and medical textbooks. They're going to have to throw them in the trash pretty soon when this emerging field of mind, body, spirit, and Harvard's doing a lot of research in the field called psycho neuroimmunology. How is our mind can affect our immune system and actually affect our body. So yeah, we're living in a great time,
Yeah. Time
great
of
discoveries.
transition.
Oh, absolutely, and revelation.
What gives you the most hope?
Most hope. Um, a lot of people right now are running around and saying like, I'm going to help the world, and I'm going to create packaging that consumes less plastic, or I'm going to make a battery that pollutes less, or I'm going to do this. And all of the batteries and all of the dissolvable plastics are not going to help the world. We're in a real problem right now. And the only thing that will save humanity, in my humble opinion, would be as a raising a consciousness and raising a consciousness. And what gives me hope is 20 years ago, if you were doing yoga in the park or doing Tai Chi or meditating, the police might come up. I remember 20 years ago, I was down in Charleston and I was meditating in a park, just sitting quietly. And a cop came over and touched me on the shoulder and said, "Sir, are you okay?" And I said, "I'm absolutely fine. I'm just sitting here meditating." But right now, people are meditating, people are praying, people are doing Tai Chi, people are going to yoga, and people are really starting to do these things. Now, here's a beautiful thing: if you're in a lower dimension, and you're at a lower state of consciousness, you can harm other people, you can rape and pillage, you can create a product that's going to pollute the environment, and you don't care because it's all about me. But when you achieve, a higher state of consciousness, you can't rape, you can't pillage, you can't be a pirate, you can't go out and do that because you just your soul won't allow you to do those things. So we're seeing a tremendous raising of consciousness in people that are really all doing their sacred practices now, and that gives me tremendous hope.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you so
You
much
know, it
for
was great. I
saying
was
that.
I was at dinner with you the other day, and when I came out here to Orange County, and one of your children said, and somebody at the room said something negative, and one of your children said something like, "Don't put that thought out into the universe." And I love that. Here it is. It's like people
Yeah,
are, embracing
yeah.
this higher learning.
Well, it's so true because I feel like sometimes the younger generation is more advanced than us, and yet sometimes just they can be so close-minded to understanding new concepts. And I see a lot of skepticism about what it is that you do and what it is that you're bringing to the world. And I'm realizing it's going to take a long process for us to change our thinking and to open our minds big enough to understand that maybe we don't know it all. And maybe there's a whole new, way of thinking that we need to be open to. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the skeptic when people go, "Oh, come on, give me a break"?
There's a beautiful quote that I love. The malady of the ignorant is the ignorance of their malady.
Hmm.
So
I gotta think about that one.
the malady of the ignorant is the ignorance of their malady. So the people, the people who are living in these who don't know really what's going on. They don't know that they don't know what's going on. So you can go out into the world and you can bring out a new product, whether you're Elon Musk or you're anyone who bringing new things to the world. And you say who you're trying to communicate with. Do you want to bring it to the masses, to everyone, to the lowest common denominator? Or are you looking for the people who are seeking to evolve and embrace the new and the progressive? So you can be a stick in the mud or you can be progressive. So I am only interested in the early adopters. I'm only interested in people who their minds and thoughts and their intentions are in the future, and evolving. I'm not interested in people who are sitting, who are invested in the status quo. I mean, if we sat in the status quo, the status quo, would see a woman who said, "I want to be a pilot," and she goes, "How dare you?" Or they would see a black person come and sit in a diner, back in the 1950s and like, "How dare you?" Or they would see, a sacred spiritual person wanted to come in the hospital and say, "How dare you?" I think we need more people going out in the world and and daring to do these things. I think
Yeah.
we need more of this. How dare you? Because you always need someone to break the glass ceiling, and once somebody breaks the glass ceiling, then great, other people can follow.
Yeah. Well, you definitely are doing that. I would
You're
say you are the epitome of breaking the glass ceiling.
you're very
S-
kind.
I know you have a lot of projects that you're considering and in discussion of. Tell us what can we expect in the future? Where are you going?
There's a saying, Dio Volente, and I'm not going to tell the audience what Dio Volente means, but look it up. We're going to see what's going to unfold. I think we're living in a great time where people starting to realize that a lot of what we were taught in school is false, and a lot of the narrative that we've been force fed is false. And I think that people are now looking within and taking that moment in silence and realizing that we are far more powerful, and than we were been taught, been taught. So
Absolutely.
I think you need to forget what you've taught so that you can truly remember who you truly are and embrace your own power.
I love that. So there's going to be a lot of people that are listening that are going to say, "OMG, how do I get a hold of this guy? Does he only work on the wealthy? Talk to us a little bit about what your practice looks like."
That's a great question. You know, uh, we all need the philanthropists. We all need people to help us out to do things. Like, yeah, I do have, I'm the director of a research institute, spirituality and healthcare.org, and that's all underwritten through research and philanthropy because medicine doesn't want to be left in the in pharmaceuticals. They don't want to lose this emerging market. So people have asked me, so Dr. Farrell, why are big pharmaceutical companies giving you grants? Why would they do that? Because there's a mind, body, spirit approach. Is that going to compete with them? And I've sat down with the chairman of Fortune 25 pharmaceutical companies, and they've said, if we can integrate these mind, body, spirit practices with our drugs, we can generate better outcomes, and that's a win-win for us.
Yeah.
So that's the way that works. So yeah, so I continue to do research because you always want to find out new applications, and today's research is tomorrow's cures, correct? So you always want to
Absolutely.
do that. And then of course, I have a private practice, drjpfarrell.com, and I have two areas that I work in. One is immediate healing and rehabilitation, and I work on a lot of and that's supported by NHL and NBA athletes and people like that, and also people of means who would desire immediate healing or immediate rehabilitation after
Absolutely.
surgery, after trauma. And what that money does is it permits me to allow people who don't have the means to book an appointment in New York, and it allows them to have access to my clinic, the Farrell Clinic, where I provide pro bono access to the disfigured, the disabled, and I give priority to like first responders injured on the job or
I know
attempting to
your
save a
dad was a
life.
firefighter, so you have a love of
People,
people who are.
people who will like risk their lives to save a life. So if you're a EMT worker, a firefighter, and you're rushing to a scene and you're attempting, or you know you're one of the good guys, one of the good law enforcement guys who will like run into a room trying to save someone.
Yeah.
We've all heard of like Columbine or all these things, and police running in and trying to save and protect people. So if somebody is burned or disfigured or disabled or paralyzed, I'm their guy. I'll be there. I'll be there to help them, and I'll do it for free.
You also are really good at the anti-aging
Yeah.
stuff. You
Now,
know me, coming from the beauty world.
yeah, well,
I love that.
I love, again, I love to sculpt and I can paint. And so, yeah, my passion is, I'd say 20% of my practice is, the Farrell Center for Anti-Aging and Immediate Aesthetic Improvement, where I work on, I work on a lot of household names, and I work on news anchors with a major networks, and I work on a lot of celebrities and a lot of people who are just want to put that best face forward, and who don't.
I might be taking you out for some drinks later to try to get the info out of you, maybe.
Okay, fantastic, great. But the beautiful thing is, through the non-invasive modalities, people can have, let's say, have their nose done or their face done, and with no redness, no downtime, no 2 weeks hiding in the Bahamas with a mask over their face when the healing goes down. So
Unbelievable.
you can have the procedure and go right back out on the soundstage that afternoon and be on camera.
Awesome. Well, I do know that we have your URLs, and we're going to post those all on the website
Thank
at
you.
delphinecircle.com. So your contact information, and of course all your information and information about the book, because I love this book. If anybody hasn't read this, they need to go out immediately and get it. And I can't wait for the second one, because I know there's another one
There's a sequel
in the works. So
Thank you.
I can't wait for that. JP, thank you so much for being my guest today. I can't even tell you what a huge honor this is. I think you know how excited I was to have you on, and I hope everybody gets to hear more about your story, because what you do is truly unbelievable.
Delphine Channels, I want to say that when I found out that what your mission was here, to bring out media and ask people insightful questions of like how they do things. I mean, this is such a gift you're giving to humanity, so people can truly understand how people achieve things, and that's a gift as a takeaway to let other people know. So if you, in your 10 guests that are coming up, and I know they're all wonderful people, if you listen to them and each person gives you a little kernel of knowledge, I mean, that's just a great gift to humanity you're offering.
Thank you.
So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Great. So we have a mutual admiration society. So
I think we do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.